In the ever-evolving world of artificial intelligence, a new contender has entered the stage: Google Gemini. Introduced as the successor to Bard, Gemini represents more than just another chatbot. It marks Google's ambitious attempt to redefine how we interact with information, how we search, and ultimately, how we think. For decades, Google Search has been the default gateway to the internet. It transformed the way we access knowledge, replacing libraries and encyclopedias with an ever-present, all-knowing search bar. But as user expectations grew, and as AI models like ChatGPT and Claude began offering conversational responses instead of static links, Google realized that search itself had to evolve. Enter Gemini. Built on Google DeepMind's advanced multimodal capabilities, Gemini is designed not only to understand language, but to process and generate across multiple forms of media: text, images, audio, even video. Unlike traditional large language models that rely primarily on word prediction, Gemini was trained from the ground up with multimodality in mind, giving it a more holistic grasp of context and user intent. This means that instead of giving you 10 blue links, Gemini can analyze a diagram, summarize a lecture, write an essay, and then explain it in plain language, all in one smooth interaction. It doesn't just search, it synthesizes. It doesn't just respond, it reasons. The implications are enormous. For students, Gemini becomes a tutor that can walk through complex problems, explain concepts visually, and adapt to different learning styles. For professionals, it's a research assistant that can digest entire documents, highlight key findings, and offer strategic summaries. For everyday users, it transforms vague questions into meaningful answers, backed by citations, images, and contextual explanations. But Gemini's ambitions go further. It aims to unify Google's AI research under one umbrella, combining the raw power of DeepMind with the scalability of Google Cloud and the reach of Search, YouTube, and Android. In doing so, Google hopes to create a seamless ecosystem where Gemini can power everything, from Gmail to Google Docs to mobile voice assistants. At the heart of Gemini's strategy is integration. Rather than exist as a standalone app, Gemini is being woven into the very fabric of Google's services. This includes the Search Generative Experience, SGE, which adds AI-generated overviews directly into search results. Instead of clicking through to find an answer, users can read a concise conversational summary right at the top, often accompanied by follow-up questions and suggested actions. Critics argue that this could disrupt the web ecosystem, especially for publishers and content creators who rely on clicks. If Google answers questions directly, will users stop visiting websites? Will traffic dry up? Will SEO lose its relevance? These are valid concerns, and Google has promised to include links and source transparency in Gemini-generated content. Yet the shift is undeniable. The internet is moving from navigation to conversation, from finding information to understanding it. And in this new paradigm, Gemini is positioned at the center. The name Gemini itself is symbolic, evoking duality, balance, and the fusion of human and machine intelligence. It suggests a world where search isn't just functional but collaborative, where you don't just ask questions, you explore ideas, where your AI doesn't just respond, it learns alongside you. Gemini's debut also signals a competitive pivot. As OpenAI, Anthropic, and Meta push their own language models into the mainstream, Google is staking its legacy on AI-enhanced information. It's not just about who builds the smartest model, but who can deliver the most trusted, integrated, and helpful experience. From medical research to travel planning, Gemini is designed to act less like a tool and more like a partner. It can analyze lab data, generate itinerary suggestions, detect code errors, translate languages with cultural nuance, and even create visuals from scratch. And because it's built atop Google's secure infrastructure, it's also positioned as one of the most scalable AI solutions on the planet. But with great power comes greater responsibility. And Google, aware of the risks, has embedded layers of safety and oversight into Gemini's development. The model undergoes rigorous red teaming, evaluation for fairness and bias, and continuous feedback loops from real-world use. Moreover, Google has committed to releasing detailed model cards and alignment documentation to promote transparency. Still, challenges remain. AI-generated content raises new questions about authenticity, misinformation, and user trust. Can Gemini distinguish fact from fiction? Can it acknowledge uncertainty? Can it avoid hallucinations, especially when its answers are trusted by billions? To mitigate these concerns, Gemini incorporates grounding techniques that tie its responses to real sources. It flags gaps in confidence, offers citations, and encourages user verification. But even with these systems in place, the fundamental tension persists. How do you build an AI that is both powerful and humble, helpful yet cautious, fast yet accurate? These tensions reflect broader debates in the AI community. What role should AI play in shaping knowledge? Who decides what's true? And as AI grows more conversational and persuasive, how do we guard against manipulation, deepfakes, and digital echo chambers? Gemini doesn't have all the answers, but it does represent a bold step forward. It acknowledges that search in its traditional form is no longer sufficient, that users don't just want results, they want understanding, and that understanding requires not just access to data, but a context, reasoning, and nuance. As the model evolves, so will its reach. Google plans to expand Gemini into enterprise applications, developer APIs, and creative tools. Imagine a future where Gemini helps write your screenplay, debug your startup's code, plan your finances, and even generate interactive tutorials in your native language. That future is closer than we think. In essence, Gemini is more than a product launch. It's a philosophical shift, from the age of search to the age of dialogue, from link-driven discovery to AI-powered exploration. And in that shift lies the promise and the peril of the next era of the internet. What remains to be seen is how users will adapt. Will we become more curious or more passive? Will we ask better questions or expect easier answers? Will we treat AI as a collaborator or a crutch? These questions extend beyond Google. They reach into the heart of how we learn, work, and connect in an age shaped by machine intelligence. But if Gemini succeeds in its mission, if it can deliver useful, truthful, and respectful conversations at scale, it may not just transform search. It may transform our relationship with knowledge itself. And perhaps that is Gemini's greatest promise, not just to answer our questions, but to elevate the way we ask them. In a world overloaded with noise, it aspires to be a voice of clarity. In a digital landscape of distraction, it aims to create moments of deep engagement. Whether it's helping a teacher craft lesson plans or a teenager explore career options, Gemini's goal is to be useful, contextual, and grounded. That's why Google isn't positioning Gemini as an endpoint. It's a beginning, a foundation for a new ecosystem of AI-native experiences. With its fine-tuned models, safety filters, and deep integration across Google's services, Gemini lays the groundwork for a future where the line between search and conversation, between tool and teacher, begins to blur. And make no mistake, the competition is fierce. OpenAI continues to push the frontier with GPT-4 and beyond. Anthropic, Meta, and emerging labs around the world are racing to offer their own vision of responsible AGI. Yet what sets Gemini apart is Google's access to scale. Billions of users, massive infrastructure, and years of expertise in search relevance. Still, Gemini's success won't be measured solely by how smart it becomes, but by how responsibly it's deployed. Will it reinforce critical thinking? Will it empower creators? Will it support open knowledge and avoid the pitfalls of centralization? These are the questions that will define this new chapter of AI, and the answers will shape not only the future of Google, but the future of human inquiry. Gemini has arrived, and with it, the age of intelligent search begins not with a query, but with a conversation.